to it. That I would like to offer my prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashilakaya Chakshupurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadhanti Swakadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutakadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Jaya Pataka Swami Nitinalini Namo Acharya Padaya Nitaya Kapitadaya Gaura Katha Thamadaya Nagara Gramatari Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinalini Namaste Saraswati Devi गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश उद्धारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य. So we will start with today's class. We have all heard from the scriptures and many times even from the senior Vaishnavas as to how Krishna is bound by his devotees. Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita that nothing can bind him except the love of the devotees. So he tells, Aham Bhakta Paradino. So I am bound by the love of my devotees through the devotional service they perform. So in the last class, we had discussed as to how it is only the devotional, unalloyed devotional service that we perform under the lotus feet of the Lord helps us, please the Supreme Lord, attain his lotus feet. So we understood that, only devotional service can help us please the Supreme Lord. But how do we perform the devotional service? So it is impossible for one to perform devotional service by his own. So we have to perform it under the guidance of the senior Vaishnavas. So only when we perform devotional service under the guidance of senior Vaishnava, it will we'll understand the right way to perform the devotional service, and so that it can please the Supreme Lord. So when recently Amarendra Prabhu had visited to Shri Nrsimha Giridhari Mandir, he was mentioning as to how the acharyas, the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradayas acharyas, they've told as to how if somebody comes and tells that I am the devotee of the Lord, Krishna tells then they are not the devotee of the Lord. Somebody who tells that I am the devotee, or I am the servant of the devotee of the Lord, that is Dasa Dasanudas, then Krishna tells then he becomes my devotee. So with reference to the same statement that Krishna has said in the scriptures, we will try and discuss various pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam as to how they all, relate to this particular statement of becoming Dasa Dasanudas, and how only when one becomes the servant of the servant of the servant, the spiritual advancement in one's bhakti life is possible, and that is the only key to access to Krishna's mercy. We've heard it various times as to how it is impossible to approach Krishna directly. So it is only through his devotees, by serving his devotees who are at an exalted position, who are serving Srila Prabhupada and various acharyas of our Guru Parampara. So Amarendra Prabhu tells that it is only when we surrender unto the lotus feet of such exalted, powerful disciples of Srila Prabhupada and the entire Guru Parampara, there is a possibility of getting access to Krishna's mercy. So, because as we know, the mercy of the acharyas flows through downwards. So, it is from starting from our Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada and back, then going back to our Guru Parampara and directly coming from Krishna. So, we will try and discuss various pastimes as to how it is only when we serve the devotees of the Supreme Lord, that is when we get actually we get access to the Supreme Lord. Starting from so when it comes to service, it could be her husband serving his wife, or it could be when the father serving the son serving the father, or it could be even the disciple serving the spiritual master. The relation in which the service is done, it could be from the disciple to the spiritual master, or from the wife to the husband. There could be different relations or different to whom we are performing the service, but the intention and the mood in which we perform the service, that is what is going to help us advance in our spiritual lives. So the first relation that I mentioned is husband and wife. So there is a beautiful instance that the senior Vaishnavas narrate. So in this, one of the beautiful examples that is even given in the pages of the scriptures is the example of Jayadev Goswami and Padmavati Devi. So we all know as to how Jayadev Goswami was such an exalted devotee of Lord Jagannath. He has composed various Vaishnava songs and written such wonderful verses glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And his wife, Padmavati Devi, has her dharma. She was serving her husband sincerely. So that is one of the symbols of a pure and the chaste wife, that she serves her husband because he is serving the Supreme Lord. So once it so happens that while Jayadev Goswami was composing verses, so there would be one verse wherein the Supreme Lord Krishna asks Radha Rani to place her feet on his head, and he requests Radha Rani to give the dust from her lotus feet. And this would be the words that Jayadev Goswami had to put on to the pages, but he would be a little hesitant because at that point of time, it was the time period before appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So at that point of time, the Radha Tattva was hidden. It is when Lord Krishna took the mood and complexion of Srimati Radharani, came as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. It is at that point of time when again the entire Radha Tattva was given out to the conditioned souls. So, but before then, before the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Radha Tattva was hidden. So Jayadev Goswami was a little hesitant to put these verses on the pages, because not that he was incapable of putting the verses or explaining it was because at that or it was not that the pastime was inappropriate. It was the Jayadev Goswami was concerned as to how would the general public take it. If they read, then they'll interpret it in their own whimsical manner, and that would not be that would not serve the purpose of the scriptures. So he was a little hesitant. So he tells Padmavati Devi, his wife, that he's going for his sacred bath, and since he requires a break, so because he's contemplating on the verses, so he'll finish his sacred bath and come back, and then he tells that I will take lunch prasadam and continue with my writing. So Padmavati Devi agrees for it, and Jayadev Goswami leaves for his sacred bath, and after he leaves, there is a knock on the door. And again, Padmavati Devi, she comes and she opens, and she sees Jayadev Goswami is back. So it was a minute that he went to take his sacred bath, and he's back. Then his wife asks as to what happened. You went for your sacred bath, right? So Jayadev Goswami replies, telling that, I remember the words that I had to put down on the pages, and I'm in just fear that I will forget regarding it. So I can finish my sacred bath later. I first write down what has come to my mind by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So he goes to his room and he starts writing, and then he finished writing, and Padmavati Devi serves prasadam to her husband, and after he's done eating prasadam, she eats some in the same plates, because at that point of time in the Vedic period, it was a symbol of chastity that the wife would show. So you're eating in the same plate that husband is eaten, that is he has already eaten, and it was a culture that women would eat in the same plate, so that shows their love and purity towards their husband. And Padmavati followed the same instructions as it has been given in the scriptures, and she started honoring her prasadam in the same plate as that of her husband. And then after that, she again sees that Jayadev Goswami enters into the house, and he's surprised to see Padmavati, honoring her lunch prasadam, because he knows without he being fed, Padmavati Devi would never take her prasadam. So he is all surprised, and he asks Padmavati Devi as to how are you, honoring prasadam without serving me. And she's all confused, because like a minute later, before, she had served prasadam, and then she explains the whole scenario as to how he had come back from his sacred bath, and he went to his room, wrote the verses, and Jayadev Goswami goes and sees at that point of time the words that he was hesitant to write. It's already been put on the pages. And then he tells Padmavati Devi, he starts, offering obeisances unto her lotus feet, and he starts glorifying Padmavati Devi. And Padmavati Devi, she doesn't know as to why is her husband doing all of it to her, and he tells that the Supreme Lord Jagannath, he knew, he was seeing as to how Jayadev Goswami is struggling to put on that verse. So he himself had come to the place of Jayadev Goswami. He had written that verse, and he ate the prasadam, and Padmavati Devi got an opportunity to eat in the same plate that the Supreme Lord had eaten. So Jayadev Goswami tells Padmavati Devi that I am such an unfortunate soul that I've been serving the Supreme Lord for so many years, and just because you are assisting me in his service, you've got his darshan today. He has, come in my form as your husband, and he has given you darshan, and you're so fortunate that you're eating in the remnant plate that the Supreme Lord has eaten. So you're that fortunate just by, just because Padmavati Devi assisted Jayadev Goswami in his service to the Supreme Lord. Jayadev Goswami didn't get the opportunity to have darshan of the Lord, but we can see as to how Padmavati Devi, she got the opportunity not only to have darshan of the Lord, but to eat in the same plate as the Lord had eaten. So the point I'm trying to make here is that it is impossible for us to approach the Supreme Lord. It is only through the mercy of the devotees. It is only by serving the senior Vaishnavas that how Padmavati Devi in this case served Jayadev Goswami, who was such a pure, exalted Vaishnava and who was always in the service of the Supreme Lord. She was able to just assist him, follow what and all instructions Jayadev Goswami used to give Padmavati Devi, being a good and a chaste wife. She got the darshan of the Supreme Lord, and she also got an opportunity to associate with the Supreme Lord. So this is one of the instance, and moving to another instance where I told as to how the father assists the son, or father helps the son in his devotional service. So regarding this, we can see Dhruva Maharaj's story, where his mother became his Path Pradarshak Guru to Dhruva Maharaj. So we all know how, Suniti, when Dhruva Maharaj went and sat on his father's lap, his stepmother, the second wife of his father, she was telling, you should have done something so, you should have performed such pious activity in your previous life to sit on the lap of your father. And we know how, being a Kshatriya, Dhruva Maharaj's blood is, heated up, and he goes to his mother and he tells that I want a kingdom bigger than my grandfather. And then Suniti, at that point of time, she guided him, like on the right path. She could have told anything to Dhruva Maharaj, but she told it is only Narayana, he's only Vishnu can give you what you desire. So so then Dhruva Maharaj asks, so where can I find him? She tells he is in the forest. And when we all know the story, so how he goes to the forest, he meets Narada Muni, and under the guidance of Narada Muni, he performs tapasya, and just within 6 months, the Lord comes down to give darshan to Dhruva Maharaj, who is hardly 5 years old. So, and when the Supreme Lord comes down to see Dhruva Maharaj, to give darshan to Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj tells that, so Supreme Lord firstly asked Dhruva Maharaj, so tell me what's your desire. And when he looks at such effulgent form of Lord in that four-handed form, he comes down. We know as to how Dhruva Maharaj tells that he tells that you are impossible to be even that demigods have to have performed such severe austerities, and even for them there are certain demigods who couldn't have your darshan. Even after performing such severe penances, it was impossible for them to have your darshan. You have come down to give darshan to a 5-year-old boy like me. So, and he tells that the Supreme Lord, that I was finding for a broken pieces of glasses, and here, Lord, you have given me the real Kohinoor diamond. And he starts glorifying the Lord. And when the Lord tells him, Dhruva Maharaj tells that he doesn't require any he doesn't require any kingdom that he desired as before, and he only want devotional service unto the lotus feet of the Lord. And we all know as to how the Lord is very pleased with the mode of Dhruva Maharaj, and he tells that, we'll go back to the spiritual world. And this is a very interesting scene where we have to note as to how Dhruva Maharaj, when he was being taken by Vishnu Dutas to the supreme abode, that at that point of time, Dhruva Maharaj remembers his mother, who has been his Path Pradarshak Guru, and he tells the Supreme Lord that, Supreme Lord, it is because of my mother that, I found you. Yeah, there is no doubt that Narada Muni gave him instructions as to how to perform bhakti, how to attain the Supreme Lord. But it is because of his mother. If his mother wouldn't have guided him to go to Lord Narayana or Sri Vishnu, it would be impossible for him to meet Narada Muni. So he tells, can I even call my mother, and can we take even my mother to the supreme abode? Because it is because of his mother that Dhruva Maharaj got that path of his, I mean, that is because of his mother, his spiritual life started. So in the temple, I was speaking to one of the senior devotees, and he was telling me as to how you should never forget the person who connected you to ISKCON. So you should never forget that person. It could be that he's not even connected, he's not even connected with his con. It could be that just by, he's some other day he could have done a WhatsApp forward telling that, 18 days Gita course is going on, or anything like that. But even he could be connected, he could be a devotee, he could be a non-devotee, because he's connected you to this bhakti life, to this bona fide parampara. It becomes our duty to follow the food, to be grateful to them. So we can see in the case of Dhruva Maharaj as to how he was, indebted to his mother, and he told that, can I even bring my mother to the supreme abode of the Supreme Lord? So, and just by his mother, assisting Dhruva Maharaj in his bhakti life, just because she connected Dhruva Maharaj to his spiritual life, because she was a means in it. She also attained the supreme abode, the Golok Vrindavan, and has same as Dhruva Maharaj. So as to how we can see in the same case as how Suniti helped Dhruva Maharaj, and both of them attained the supreme abode of the Lord. And the final relation is of that of a disciple and a spiritual master. We've heard it maybe millions and hundreds of times from all the senior Vaishnavas, from various lectures, as to how it is only the spiritual master who can save us from the cycle of birth and death. And the city of Bangalore was so fortunate to have the presence of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj for about 8 to 9 days in Bangalore. So with the same instance, we will try and discuss as to how disciple and spiritual master, how the spiritual master, disciple serves the spiritual master. So we all know that the famous Acharya Ramanujacharya, once he asked his disciple that he was going on a yatra, and he tells his disciple that, pack all my belongings, uh, and the deities also. So the disciple packs with the belongings of Ramanujacharya along with the deities as per the instructions of his spiritual master, and he even packs padukas along the same bag, in the same bag of the deities. And Ramanujacharya, he sees that, this disciple, he has done such a thing that, he's packed the padukas of Ramanujacharya along with the deities, and he gets all wild. And he starts chastising the disciple as to, why have you done this? How can you, keep my padukas with the Supreme Lord? He's the Supreme Lord. You can't do this. And he starts chastising him. And then the disciple tells that, you gave me an instruction to pack the deities. So your deities are your deities, and your padukas are deities to me. So here, on hearing this, Ramanujacharya, is very moved, and he gives blessings to his disciples. So there are various instances in the scriptures as to how, just by serving the spiritual master, just by a disciple serving the spiritual master, he attains the supreme abode of the Lord, he attains a service to the Supreme Lord. So even our acharyas, the Shad Goswamis, among them Jiva Goswami, I was hearing from a senior Vaishnava that he has written 500 million verses. And the Vaishnava was mentioning, how was he empowered to write 500 million verses? Because it is impossible for us to even compose a single line of any verse. So how is that Jiva Goswami wrote 500 million verses? So the Vaishnava tells that it is because he had served Rupa Goswami. And what service did Jiva Goswami do to Rupa Goswami? When Rupa Goswami was writing his verses, composing his verses, he used to bring water to Rupa Goswami. Jiva Goswami used to fan Rupa Goswami so that, the outer circumstances or the outer environment doesn't disturb Rupa Goswami in his service to the Supreme Lord. So, just by serving Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami was empowered to write 500,000 verses. It is not by, there is no doubt that Jiva Goswami is an exalted Vaishnava, and the fact that they're showing is, the fact we are trying to learn from this instance is that how Jiva Goswami served Rupa Goswami and how Rupa Goswami empowered the Supreme Law, how Jiva Goswami was empowered by Rupa Goswami to compose such wonderful verses. And we also know this another instance from Ramanujacharya's life as to how he tells his disciple when he arrives at a particular village and he was searching for a residence, and he tells his disciples to go tell this one rich person, sorry he tells his disciples to make arrangements for his stay, and the disciple goes to the richest person in the village and he tells that as to how Ramanujacharya has come, and he is asked you to prepare for his accommodation, and the rich person at the village, as to how he becomes so busy in making arrangements for welcoming Ramanujacharya, he forgets about the disciple of Ramanujacharya. And when he comes back, the disciple comes back to Ramanujacharya and he tells, they're making grand arrangements, dear Guru Maharaj, for your welcome. So they're all set to welcome you. And then Ramanujacharya tells, so did they give you a glass of water and offer you a seat? And we know how, the disciple tells, no, they're all so happy to receive you. In that bliss, in that joy, they forgot about me. But, they are making very good arrangements for you. Then Ramanujacharya tells, we are not going to his house. And then they go to this poor Brahmana's house. As soon as the Brahmanas hear that from the disciples of Ramanujacharya, that Ramanujacharya is arriving, the first and the foremost thing the Brahmana and his wife does is they offer seat and water to the disciple. And then Ramanujacharya tells, this is how my disciples should be treated. So if they are not ready to take care of my disciples, how is it that they're going to take care of me? So it is very important that not only serving the spiritual master, it is when we serve the disciples of the spiritual master, we get access to serve the spiritual master. So that is the example that is the lesson we can learn from the example of Sri Ramanujacharya, as to how he was so strict that if his disciples were not taken proper care, then there is no point of serving the spiritual master. So the entire concept is becoming dasa dasanudas, that is becoming the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Lord. It is not just that we go to the spiritual master and we ask for his blessings. All that is fine, but how are we serving the spiritual master? How are we pleasing the spiritual master? So we please the spiritual master when we render service unto him. So it is Amarendra Prabhu was very nicely mentioning. So when we tell that we have to serve the spiritual master, it should be according to the desire of the spiritual master and not to our own personal desires, that we are all comfortable in this particular service, so I will perform that. It is not that. It is how we are accustoming our schedule to please the Supreme Law, to please the spiritual master. So we have to, come out of that comfort zone and try and serve the spiritual master the way the spiritual master desires, and not according to our own will and wish. So I remember as to how one of the devotees, one of the Matajis, she was mentioning to me, during the class of Amarendra Prabhu, when we all happened to meet at temple, she was telling that we were all so much enthusiastic from the time Guru Maharaj was here in Bangalore. We all were desiring to take his blessings, but due to such crowd, so many people were going to meet Guru Maharaj. It was impossible for us to take the blessings of Guru Maharaj. But when Radha Gopinath Circle got the service of preparing a prasadam for the disciples of Guru Maharaj, and after, as to how they did not have hope of even receiving blessings from Guru Maharaj, but after they waited for such a long time, they cooked for the disciples of Guru Maharaj, they served them, and when they did all this, they got the access to, get the blessings of Guru Maharaj. At the end, all the people, all the sevaks who were engaged in the service of Guru Maharaj, they got the blessings of Guru Maharaj. So it was because they served the disciples of Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj was so merciful even at that point of time, at that pitch dark night, to come and give his blessings to all the sevaks. So Sanatana Goswami tells that if one has to make a spiritual advancement, then the only way is to surrender unto the lotus feet of the spiritual master, serve the spiritual master, because in Bhagavad Gita it tells that tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadhyakshante te gnanam gnaninas tattvadarshina. Because you have to surrender unto the Supreme Lord, serve him, inquire from him submissively, and only then he will reveal the absolute truth to you, because he has seen it. So it is only when we perform service to the spiritual master we can get the access to the supreme mercy of the Supreme Lord. So through these instances, all that we have to learn is that only when we become the servant of the servant of the servant, it is that is when the Supreme Lord is going to turn towards us and shower his unlimited mercy. So I stop here by. So I thank Mathurapati Prabhu and Parabhakti Mataji for giving me this opportunity for my personal purification, and all the assembled devotees for your patient hearing. Thank you. Hare Krishna.